Hey, this is Doug. I'm going to show you how to get the standard deviation on the calculator doing kind of a semi-manual method. So to start off, I'll show you here, we've got our list, our data set. Actually, we can clear this one out. Okay, so we're working with this data set here. Now, what you might be tempted to do and what you might do in the future from time to time is to just use the standard deviation function. And we can just put list one into there and we'll get some value for the standard deviation. However, there's two possible standard deviations we might care for depending on what this list represents. So if it's a sample standard deviation that we want, that'll give us a different number versus if we want a population standard deviation. So whichever one this is, we don't know right off the bat unless we test it out ourselves. So if you want to be 100% sure of what's happening with your calculations, what we can do is we can go into stat, edit, and first off, what we need to do is, actually we need the mean. So what we'll do is, I'll go ahead and calculate the mean. We'll just go ahead and use the function for that. That's pretty straightforward. So we've got 65.7 as the mean. And what we can do is store that into a variable. I'm going to go ahead and store that into x. All right, so now if we enter x, we've got the mean there. Now, what I want to do is go back into, oops, not a second, go back into stat, edit, and in list 2, what we'll go ahead and do is go into the top here. We want to select the name of the list and hit enter. That'll bring our cursor down here. And what we'll do is second list 1 minus our mean. All right. And so that calculates each x value minus the mean and populates this column here. The next step would be to square those numbers. So what we can do here is, again, I'm selecting L3, the name up there, hitting enter, and then we'll do list 2 squared, enter. Okay. Now, the next step would be to calculate the variance. So we'll start off doing the population variance. So what we'll want to do is add up all of these numbers. So L3, yeah, we can go ahead and just do it here. So we'll go ahead and do second list, and we'll go to sum. And we want the sum of list 3. Okay. And if we divide that by n, which is the total number of data values that we started with, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll divide list 4 by 6. Oops. I see what happened. So the problem there was I tried to divide this entire list by a number and put it into one cell, which we can't do. So we can go ahead and just go here like we've been doing. We'll do list 4 divided by 6. And there's our population variance. Now to get the population standard deviation, we'll just take the square root of that. So we'll do second square root of the value in list 5. And there's our population standard deviation, which if we go back the standard deviation function gave us this 32.004. So what we can do now is go back to edit, and the steps are largely the same for doing the sample standard deviation. So you're going to subtract each value, each x value here by, instead of mu, the symbol is going to be x bar, which is going to be the mean of your sample. And then we are going to square those values, and those will be the same. That step is the same. We're going to add those together. That's the same. And then when you calculate the variance, that's where it changes. So instead of dividing L4 by n, we're going to divide L4 by n minus 1. So n in this case is 6. So we're going to divide by 5. And there's our sample variance. And here, we'll go ahead and take the square root again of our sample variance. And there's our 32.004. All right, so again, it's good to be aware of how to do these different calculations, because you want to be sure what the calculator is doing. So now we know that the standard deviation function here is actually the sample standard deviation. All right, hope that helps.